Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm introducing Dolores. I see we're both on the screen together, side by side now. And how appropriate is that? We've been side by side for as long as I remember coming to the centre. Um, I was trying to remember when I got to know Dolores first. And I actually don't remember coming to the centre and not seeing Dolores there. So I think we must have arrived at about the same time. And over that time, there are some other women here tonight, I notice, who would have been in the same study group as Dolores and myself. Also, when I was in the ordination process, I was in a group called Going for Refuge group, and Dolores was in that group at one point with me as well. So we've got to know each other extremely well over the years. And it's been a delight to get to know her better over that time. And the more I get to know her, the more I admire and respect her. And I look forward to the day when she is in the order with all of us. There's a few things I just wanted to highlight about Dolores and what I've noticed. And one is actually her altruistic side, which has really come to the fore in the last year or two, I think. She seems to be always volunteering to assist on courses or to turn up at the Tuesday night puja and meditation, and always willing to do something if we need something done. And of course, Dolores and myself, lead a group. She supports me with a Mitra study group on Mondays. What comes through also with Dolores, any of you who know her know this, is her love for the Buddha. She, not only does Dolores wax lyrical when she starts talking about the Buddha, but she glows, she shines when she talks. And you can really get that heart connection that she has with Shakyamuni. I always want to call him personally as him, as if I know him, because it just feels like, yeah, Dolores knows him personally. She also has a beautiful ability to share the Dharma, and I've seen that through the study groups over the years. And she has this very accessible way of saying things. She has the ability to make it simple and to apply it to our lives in conversations. So not only is she able to talk about the Dharma, the teachings, but she's able to apply it to her life. And I've seen that aspect of her practice becoming ever deeper, particularly in recent months with some of the conversations we've been having. She has a beautiful poetic approach. I have fond memories of some of the presentations she did when we were in study group together. And this side came out where she had this witty, poetic way of presenting things that I always enjoyed. And of course, her sense of humor, I have to say, it comes through not just when we're talking. She has a wicked sense of humor, which I love, but she also has that capacity to take things seriously. She has this ability to take things seriously and yet hold them lightly with that beautiful sense of humor, and I really love that. And lastly, what I would say is, as my friendship with Dolores deepens, I find that she's a true Kalyana Mitra. She's a real spiritual friend, because not only can we talk about the Dharma, but I can actually talk to Dolores about things that are going on in my own life. And I know that I'll be met and I'll be heard, and that we'll be able to unpack things from a Dharmic perspective. And I really relish that and enjoy that and love that about you, Dolores. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your talk, and I'm going to hand over to you now. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Julia Mitra. That was lovely. Thank you indeed. I wasn't sure if that was all me you were talking about, but it was gorgeous to hear. Thank you very much. And hello, everybody out there. I'm sure I know most of you, and know most of you will know me. But for those of you who maybe don't know me, my name is Dolores, and I live here in Dublin. So a couple of weeks ago, Tullia Mitra asked me if I would like to do a talk on why I am a Buddhist. And I went, yay, does that mean I get to talk about the Buddha? Well, no problem. Great, would love to do it. But now that I'm sitting here actually looking at all these faces, I'm a little bit on the wobbly side, but you're friendly faces. I'm not too afraid of you. So I have prepared a talk here, and I have made some notes, because much and all as I would like to rely on my memory, I think at this stage that would be a false refuge. So in preparing my talk, I decided I'll divide it up into two parts. Part one being, what brought me to the Dublin Buddhist Centre in the first place. And more importantly, part two, what it was that made me stick around. So I have to go back a little bit in years, but I won't go back to the very start, because we could be here all night if I go right back to the beginning. There are quite a number of miles on my clock. So I go back to when I was 21, which is also a long time ago, but it was actually my 21st birthday, and it was the day I got married. So I got married to Brian on my 21st birthday, and we were both very young, and I'm glad to say we're still together after 45 years, and we're still happy. Well, I am. I'm not so sure about him. I don't check with him too often. We have 4 children. We have 3 boys and a girl. And as I'm sure some of you know, life is busy when you're rearing a family and you're working and you're doing schools and homework, and there's dinners and there's sports and there's after school activities, and life is just busy and there isn't a lot of time for anything really. So the years did just pass by very quickly. And I do remember back then being constantly referred to as either, oh, that's Alan's ma'am, or that's Sandra's ma'am. I was always somebody's ma'am. And I was often, very often referred to as Brian's wife. So there was a bit of, what's happened to me? What's happened to Dolores? Where has she gone? She just seems to have vanished in the midst of all of this. So as the years passed and the children grew, I did obviously have a bit more time for myself. So there was time to take stock of what was going on for me. And I do remember asking myself, even back then, what's it all about? There has to be more to life than just this. There did feel like there was, even with a family and a husband, there was an emptiness and there was a void and a lack of fulfillment, a longing, a yearning for something. I wasn't quite sure what that something was, but it was very present in my experience. So searching and looking, I first of all came across a guy by the name of Tony Quinn. I'm not quite sure if any of you remember him. He's still around. He has health food stores and a gym in Eccles Street. He's a real motivational speaker, and he's all about, working, using your mind to get what you want out of life. So I thought I'd give that a go. So he has this motto, which is conceive, believe, achieve. And I went to all his talks and I went to his meetings, and I even went on a 2-week seminar that he ran. And as I say, really motivational. And we took his advice, made some good investments, which was really great. But what it all highlighted for me was that none of this was filling this emptiness that was there and present in my experience. Actually, it highlighted it even more, that there was this great emptiness. So I was still looking and searching for this contentment and fulfillment and inner peace. So I thought maybe I'd meditate, learn how to meditate and see how that goes. So I might get a sense of peace of mind and clarity and some sense of purpose. So I do what most of us do at times like that. I went on to Google, had a look to see what meditation courses were being run around Dublin, and up popped the Dublin Buddhist Centre. And they were the cheapest on the market at the time. And I booked on there. So that was great. So that was back in April 2010. So I turned up, I remember this clearly, and it's 11 years ago. I turned up on the Wednesday night for the first class of the Introduction to Meditation. And Dara was leading the course. And I remember the shrine room being so full with so many different people of all ages and all walks of life. So I did enjoy the course. Thank you, Dara. I did. But there were times when I really felt like a fish out of water and completely out of my depths amongst all these strange people. And I was beginning to wonder if I just liked the idea of meditating rather than actually meditating. But I stuck with it and I did the 5-week course. There was this sort of a compulsion to keep going back, although I struggled a lot in the early days. I still struggle a lot now, but I've got a bit more used to it. So I remember going back and keep, as I say, keep sticking with it and so on. And I didn't know what it was that was pulling me back, but whatever it was, I'm truly grateful for that. So the course finished and Dara then suggested, as he usually does, well, you might decide to come along on a Tuesday night. We have what's known as Sangha night. So maybe I'll give that a go and see how that fares out. I think, as most people know, I've probably go to Sangha night nearly every Tuesday ever since. But it was brilliant. Yeah, it was great. And I went. I wasn't particularly interested in Buddhism at the time. But as time went on and the weeks passed, and on the Tuesday night, Sangha night, like the first half is, as we know, is meditation and you have your tea break. And then the second half was like a Buddhist talk. So it was listening to these talks kind of got me a bit more interested, slowly but surely. I thought, there's something here that's really, holding me. And I really want to find out more about it. So I developed, I think, what I call like a hunger to find out more. And Akshoban was around at the time, and he decided to run a course called the Introduction to Buddhism course. So I joined up for that. So this, I think, was really the turning point. On this course, I heard all about the Buddha and his life story, from his childhood to his going forth, from his enlightenment to his parinirvana. And I was blown away. I was amazed. I was instantly hooked. It was as simple as that. I was just in awe of this Siddhartha Gautama. I just wanted to know everything there was to know about him. All the different stories, book after book. I just couldn't get enough of him. I just really couldn't get enough of him. And the more I learned about him and his life, the more inspired I became. And my connection with him was beginning to get very strong and deep. It was something, that sort of an experience was something that I'd never had before. But I loved it, I have to say, and I wasn't going to let it go. So over the years, my practice has deepened, and I do like to just sit with the Buddha and reflect on his wonderful qualities. Now, there is a story which I hold very dear, and it's from the Sutta Nipata, and it's called Pingia's Praises. And I'm sure you all know the story of Pingia's Praises, but perhaps for the benefit of some who may not. Pingia is a devoted disciple of the Buddha, and he's always talking about him and singing his praises. And Bavari asks him one day, you know, why, if you think so much of him, why don't you spend all your time with him? And this is Pingia's reply, quote, "There is no moment for me, however small, that is spent away from Gautama. With constant and careful vigilance, it is possible for me to see him with my mind as clearly as with my eyes, in night as well as day. And since I spend my nights revering him, there is not, to my mind, a single moment spent away from him." These are Pingia's words, but they're very clearly my expression also. It is so true for me what Pingia says. I remember the last retreat I was on before the lockdown. I was in Tiratnaloka, and I had a really, really profound experience on that retreat. Of course, we all know retreats are just wonderful places for these conditions to arise. But I was walking in the grounds at Tiratnaloka. There's lovely woods all around there, as I'm sure most of you know. And it was a sunny day, and there was no breeze, and it was calm. It was just a beautiful, just a beautiful weather, if nothing else. And I was walking along, and I got a really, really strong sense that the Buddha was walking with me. His presence was everywhere. I could feel it. He was there supporting me, and he was protecting me. And at times, it felt like he was carrying me. So he has become my constant companion. So I love being out in nature, walking among the trees. Trees remind me so much of the Buddha's life. They do feature a lot in his life story. He was born beneath the tree. Of course, he sat under the Bodhi tree when he gained enlightenment. And when he died, he was in the shade of 2 sal trees. So when I sit in the park looking at the trees around me, I always imagine the Buddha. He's in every tree, looking out over the world with his great compassion. And I do spend time sitting there talking to him, you know, about what's going on for me and what's going on for the world at large. And if I've got any kind of a problem or a worry or an issue, I'll have an old chat with him. You know, he's a great man for listening. And I always say, I have to say, this might sound crazy to some people, but I always get a response. I always hear what's the right thing to hear. I always seem to get the right advice from him. So I'm truly blessed. But I don't want to forget about the other 2 jewels. I know there's 3 jewels, the Dharma and the Sangha being the other 2. And although my response to the Buddha was instant and deep, and it just happened nearly automatically, it did take just a little bit longer for the other 2 jewels to kick in. And They have done, and they also have captured my heart, which is lovely. So studying the Dharma with a group of other Buddhists, it's such a wonderful opportunity for growth and progress. And they are the perfect conditions set up to discuss and discover the teachings of the Buddha. I can't imagine that I would make any kind of progress if I was to try and go and do this alone. We do need each other for support and inspiration. And we learn so much from each other. We are each other's conditions. So, when I arrived at the Dublin Buddhist Centre 11 years ago, I had been looking for happiness in the material world. This I now know is a false refuge. Now I go for refuge to the Three Jewels, and this is a true and safe refuge. So 11 years ago, my world felt very small. In fact, I refer to it as being like a postage stamp. It was so small. I did feel lost and I did feel disconnected, and I felt separated from the world around me. But now, my world seems vast and it seems limitless. And I feel very connected and very integrated with all of my surroundings. I think I found the fulfillment and the inner peace that I was looking for, and that I was searching for, and that I was yearning for. And that is why I am a Buddhist.